amigos! Today we are going to make breakfast burritos for dinner. Okay, let's look at the utensils and pans that we need for this endeavor. We need the large fry pan. We don't need the lid, so I'll put that back in there. We need a mixing bowl. I will use one in here. I think this medium one will be adequate. All right. We will need utensils. So in here we will need I like to use the wooden spoon for mixing. And what else? That might be it in that drawer. We'll just need a fork to beat the eggs and probably a spoon for mixing. And maybe there'll be a couple other things we need, but that's good for now. Okay, let's go to ingredients. Gee, we're making breakfast burritos. I think we're gonna need some eggs. Eggs are in the refrigerator. Be quiet, Sheldon. You are not supposed to be on the video. Are you gonna meow the whole time? All right. So we're almost out of eggs in this one, so I have this one also. We're gonna need cheese, so shredded cheese. We usually get the Kobe Monterey Jack, so that will be fine, or you can use a Mexican cheese blend. We are going to need ready, what are they called? Brown and serve sausages, the links. Those are down here. If they're not down here, you'll find them in the freezer, the upright freezer downstairs. So these are the brown and serve sausages. And, okay, and we need tortillas. So in the fridge, in our cheese drawer, we also have tortillas. We get two different kinds. We get the corn ones, the yellow corn, because both Angel and Xander like those the best. Well, actually, I like them too. And then we also have the flour tortilla.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's get cracking. Haha, get it? No. Okay, so we're having 5 people eating tonight. And since we combine eggs and a little bit of milk, which I forgot to get out of the fridge, but we'll add that in a second, with the sausage and cheese, it makes quite a lot. So if we estimate 2 eggs per person, we should be pretty good. So 5 times 2 is, okay, I don't do
10.
math afternoon. Thank you.
Yay!
Okay, so let's crack them into our bowl. 1, 2, 3. I do not know how to do those one-handed things, and I don't need to learn. I could care less about that fancy stuff. Just get them in there without too many eggshells. Yeah, eggshells is not a big deal. Okay, 5. Whoops. 6. 7. 8. Oops, there's one. And I did wash my hands. Okay.
White shells are bad.
Now I lost track. 9. The hardest thing about this recipe is remembering how to count to 10. All right, 10. Okay, now my hands are all eggy, so let me rinse those off. I also like
1,
to clean
2,
up as
3,
I go
4,
along.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And I'm going to throw the eggs in the garbage and the carton in the recycling. All right. Okay, that will do for that. Thank you. We'll need that light on later. So, okay, when you do this, you kind of tilt this so you get it kind of over in the corner, and then you do this really fast. So I got to tilt it towards me though. You can use a whisk also, but the whisks are a pain to wash, so I just prefer using a fork. And if you do this for a lot of hours, you develop really great Biceps. Okay. Okay. I like to add a little bit of milk. I don't really measure it, but I would guess for 10 eggs, 2 or 3 tablespoons would be good. Or like a 1/4 cup at the most. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in. It just makes the eggs a little bit fluffier and it makes them go a little bit longer. So maybe that's good right there. But too much just doesn't work very well. So as long as you have like a light yellow. So kids, you could use like a 1/4 cup. I think that would be a really good way to do that. Okay, that's the eggs. I'm going to let this sit and we're going to do the sausage. So,
Yum.
turn on the oven and we'll start with high. Once it gets heated up, I'll turn it down to probably 8. Tear across for the sausage. Okay, we are going to be cutting up the sausages to mix in with the burritos. So we don't need 2 per person. We can probably do well with about, let's say, we have 10 eggs. Let's do 8. And you guys can decide too. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That doesn't seem like enough, does it?
8 on high.
Let's do 10. Yeah, that should be better. Okay, so 2 per person. 2 eggs per person, 2 sausages per person. That's pretty good. Okay, so it'll take a little while because they're frozen and they need to heat up. And I'm just going to go ahead and switch that to 8 right now. So basically we've got these cooking. We've got the eggs ready to go. Once these cook, we'll take these off and cut them up, and then we'll get the eggs going in the same pan. Okay, so I am waiting for the sausages and I'm getting bored, so I might as well do my cleanup of what I already have out. So I'll put away my eggs and my milk. Alright, and the sausages. I gotta put this zipper thing back together. Put this one in the drawer here. Alright, the cheese we're going to need later and those, so I can leave that out. Oh, there's garbage here. My scissors can go back. And I can wash that. I can wipe this down. Throw this away. It just saves the amount of time if you clean up as you go along. It makes it a lot easier. Alright, I'm going to tend to the sausages next. So, just move these around.
Yum.
I kind of can flip them a little bit. You don't have to be too worried about it. I shouldn't show you that I use my fingers because that would not be safe. Okay. I think I'll turn it down just a little bit more since they're cooking kind of fast to about 6. Okay. Let's get the next thing out. When we add these to the mix, they need to be cut up. So I'm just going to grab one of our little cutting boards in here. Just grab one of these ones. It's fine. And we don't need a sharp knife. So I'm just going to grab our regular steak knives. They're easy enough to cut this and they're not too sharp. So, now we just have to wait again. Okay, our sausage is practically ready. It's a little dark on a few of the sides. I just sort of tossed them around like this and I turned it down to 4 for a little while also. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven off here. You push it in and go all the way to off. They're pre-cooked, so really it's just about heating them up, but I also like to get them a little bit dark because then they taste better. Then I'm going to just transfer these to a plate so that I can move them over here. The other thing I could do is I could, you know what? Let's do that instead. How about I do this? Wouldn't that be easier? Yes. I'll take these little puppies off. And I'll just move them over here. They're a little bit hot, but not too bad. Okay. I'll be cutting those up, but in the meantime, let's get our eggs going. We've got some nice juice from the sausages, so that'll be a good way to start the eggs. I guess I can get this back on to, this is going to be much lower. We're going to do the eggs. Let's start at 6, and we might lower it after that. All right, here are the eggs. This sauce, or this mixing bowl has a little, whatever you call it, pour spout. So I can pour it in there. There we go. Okay, and I kind of let it sit for a little bit so that it gets hard on that first layer before I start to mess around with it. And because I'm going to let it sit, I'll go ahead and cut up the sausages. Nothing too tricky about these. You can do 2 at a time. But basically, they're a little bit hot. If you want to let them cool off, that's fine. My fingers are okay with touching them if they're a little bit hot. But for you guys, you might want to wait. And don't eat them. It can be tempting. If you're going to eat them, you got to cook a couple extra. We could cut I think I'm going to cut these just a little bit smaller. But it doesn't matter that much. If I see some of the bigger pieces, I think I'll go ahead and chop them up a little bit without getting my finger. All right. That's good now. Okay. So that is the sausage. Now this should be ready for a little bit. Basically, you just go from one end and you move it over. Basically, you'll just keep mixing it. It looks like I need to raise the temperature. You see how it didn't quite cook very much? And that surprises me, so I'm going to move it up to 8, but I'm going to monitor it. If it looks like it's cooking too fast, I'll turn it down. And we will let it sit for a little bit. Okay, now this has cooked a little bit more, so I'm going to go back through. Oh yeah, now this is doing more what I want it to do. The layers are just coming up here, and then I can kind of tilt the pan to get the liquid back over on the other side. Kind of do that a couple more times. Yeah, I like cooking it at 8. This is working out really well. Okay, it's getting a little bit solid again on the bottom, so I can do that again. Bring it over to the side. Let the liquid run over there again. Whoops, or the whole thing, one of the two. Alright, when you get it to about right here is when you can just start mixing it up. So just take your spoon and start breaking it into smaller pieces. You can flip it over if you want, any way that it strikes your fancy. You want to make sure that it's not too mushy. You want to cook it long enough so that it doesn't feel mushy in your mouth. And because we add the milk, it does make it a softer egg. So you definitely want to cook it long enough so that it doesn't feel too soft. But that, actually, they're kind of bouncy. See how they're kind of bouncy like that? That means they're pretty much perfect. Now everything is cooked, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stove, and we can add the sausage like this. And because the eggs are already warm, we don't have to heat it. When we put the cheese in, the cheese will just automatically melt. And we're going to wait before we put the cheese on so that it does, so it's just before we eat it. We'll throw in the cheese that we need and get it mixed up, and it'll be nice and stringy and yummy. But before we do that, let's look at how we're going to heat up the tortillas. So I use a towel, next drawer, one of these, kind of a thinner towel. This is what I learned from actually my ex-husband's mother, who is Mexican. She heats up all of her tortillas in a towel in the microwave. And that's always worked really well. So I'll select the number of tortillas. Actually, I'll need 2 towels because I have 2 different tortillas. So I actually do have 2 tortilla towels, these 2. So I think about who's eating and how many tortillas they're going to want. I estimate probably for the kids that they're going to want at least 2. Trevor's going to want 4. So Nolan, you think 2? Because they're kind of big? Okay. And then the other kids are going to be eating the corn ones. So I just kind of fold them like this so that, and then they'll go in the microwave when we're ready. And let's do the corn ones. Same idea. When we do the corn ones, we'll cook them longer in the microwave because they're a little bit thicker. So these are smaller too, so I'm going to go ahead and do 3 for each kid. 1, 2, 3, and 3 for me. 2, and 3. Okay, same idea. Fold them in like this. Actually, I'll fold it right that way. All right. And, all right, so the last thing we have to do is we'll be putting cheese on there just before we're ready to eat it. Let's clean up a little bit while we wait. So washing out the bowl, rinse it out. Anytime you deal with eggs or meat, you want to make sure you wash things really well because you don't want to get any of that bacteria or salmonella. I always like to use my hand to make sure, because then you can feel that you've cleaned it. Sometimes you can't see it. All right. And whoops, that didn't work. Pretty easy. Again, just go with my hand, make sure I got everything, and then go behind there. Looks like I can put the tortillas. So, you know, actually I'll leave the tortillas out, but put them back in the thing because, in the plastic, because we might want more, and we don't have to fish them out of the fridge again. I'm going to go ahead and leave these out, but keep them airtight so that they don't dry out. Throw away these, and we're waiting again.
My hair.
Okay, guess who's here? All right.
Who, me?
So Trevor's home, so now we can do the final touches. I'm going to heat this up just a little bit because it cooled down, not too much, but a little bit. So let's put it back on, and I'll just put it at 8 until it's nice and warm again, and then we'll add the cheese. While we are waiting for that to heat up again, let's start the tortillas warming up. I'm thinking 45 seconds is going to be enough for the stack. It depends on how many you put in. Let's try 45. We might have to do a full minute. So 45, start. Mix this around a little bit. It's barely cooled down, so we're not going to need to even heat it up all that much. In fact, that is good. And now let's do the cheese. Usually you don't have to cut the bag, but this one happens to be sealed, so I'll cut it. And we can just throw in as much cheese as you think we need. You can crumble it over the top. Yep. Trevor says the more the merrier. We're a cheese-loving family, and we didn't even grow up in Wisconsin. There, we'll start off with that. Kind of mix it in. And then it'll kind of melt on its own as we mix it. Okay, microwave is done. Let's check and see if they're warm enough. Oh yeah, they're perfect. You see how they're steaming? 45 seconds was perfect. We're going to do it a little bit longer on the corn tortillas. Let's do a minute on this one. Okay. You're so cheating. You're not even doing 3. Okay. We are going to be ready. So thank you for making breakfast burritos for dinner.